explain like Richard Hart Products 101 in case there's new people watching too who just kind of want to know like what is Hex? How does it work? What is PulseChain? How does it work? PulseX, like what are these things in the system, and how do they kind of complement each other?
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of, things that do complement each other, and they don't necessarily take away from each other. The thing that I thought was interesting and quite the advancement, in development from, say, Hex, is that PulseChain and PulseX are both deflationary, right? That there's never going to be any newer inflation, which kind of right off the bat is like, okay, so I could just do nothing, and if there's network usage, say within PulseChain, which is obviously it's a layer one, and it's similar to, kind of Ethereum, how smart contracts can be built on top of it. It's pretty cool that with even, say, if I were to have a decent bag or any sort of bag and not do anything with that yet, well, if there's usage on the network itself, then the token's being used it's being burnt for each fee, which is just making something that's completely deflationary more rare. As far as the PulseX goes and all of it, they don't necessarily compete with each other. I think it's all kind of, one kind of system. And Richard talks about like vertical integration and things like that. And that's what it seems to be, where the fees on Ethereum just got too high for the Hexagon stakers. And so much to the point where, some people say they had a stake that was like a year and a half long. That's a lot of time to be accumulating Hex, and for it to generally be worth it to end the stake. But then just some of the actual fees for Ethereum at its peak was getting really ridiculous. And it's unfortunate, right? Because that's not necessarily something that Richard has complete control over. Is, you can only make the smart contract so much, so gas efficient before the network itself starts becoming the problem. So when we had seen that a lot of people's stakes were, underwater because the fee was more than it costed to make sense for profit, then it was cool that Richard decided to, fork Ethereum and fork the whole system state, which he had always kind of left as an option. And then as far as, say, PulseX goes, I think it's incredible that so once again, you've got something similar to, so Richard had taken what he had learned from Hex, and on PulseChain itself, same thing, deflationary, 25% of the fees are being burnt. But then in PulseX, the really cool thing that was innovative, in my opinion, was the buy and burn. So buying at like a market buy type of deal, and then burning it forever to the 0x and then all zero address, I think is a super unique sentiment that we've seen in, say, other coins and other tokenomics. But I think what Richard does is kind of, he takes something that's already working, and then he just tries to build upon it or make it better, or, do a little change here and there.
Yeah, no, I think definitely systems are complementary, solving a problem with Pulse, gas fees. I know even if you have a stake, on Ethereum right now, if you try to end a 15-year stake, nobody can do that because it has been, you need at least 13 more years for the first 15-year stake or so, because Hex isn't old enough yet. But if you were to, even trying to end stakes that are a few years old, 3, 4, 5 years old, or the maximum length of whatever, when it first came out, is going to cost you some gas, because the read fee went up like 3x or something like that with the new Ethereum improvements lately. So that's, if nothing else, and PulseChain solves that. And then, you get to copy your coins. The game theory there is still going to continue. It's going to be more interesting across the chains. I think a lot of people don't know it. And if you want to get like really deep into Hex, go watch a lot of Wells videos. Wells only does some crazy deep dives if you want to get into the technicals of Hex and all this, the micro and the macro. But I think a lot of people don't realize how when you stake it, it actually burns the tokens and essentially turns them into T-shares. So that's how you get T-shares, depending on the T-share is calculated on how many number of coins you have and how long you stake, all the things you choose. But essentially, your burn tokens are turned into T-shares. And then when you end stake or you complete the stake or all this stuff, new tokens are minted for you, with giving you the inflation or giving you the interest, the principal, and whatever bonuses and fees and stuff, however it goes into it. So it's not just, there's not like some DAO holding all these tokens. They're burned, they're generated again, and the math is used to calculate T-shares. And T-shares are key. If that sentence doesn't make any sense to you, go watch all of Wells' videos. It will make sense to you after maybe one or two.
It's so true.